Hello and welcome to this month's Ponderings from the Polytunnel. So it's February and there's not a huge amount going on, but I've got a few bits and bobs to tell you about. So I'm going to shake things up a little bit today and I'm going to start with what we've been watching. We recently watched the series of Willow, and many years ago, I think it was in the 90s, there was a film called Willow. It's a lovely fantasy film and it was actually filmed not far from here, and it was a big stir when it was filmed. It was really exciting, lots of galloping horses and strange creatures, and it was a really lovely film. I certainly enjoyed it, and I didn't know that they'd actually made a series more recently off the back of that film, and we watched that and we really enjoyed it. We've also been we've started watching like an American comedy drama series, which is White Collar, or is it White Collars? Can't remember, but it's really good. I'm really enjoying it. It's just easy to watch and it's quite entertaining. So yeah, I can recommend both of those. And a couple of days ago, I watched a film that I just happened across with Kevin Hart called The Upside. Oh my goodness, so it's based on a true story of, I won't spoil it for you, but it is based on a true story, and essentially Kevin Hart's a bit of a naughty boy, not long out of prison, and he's looking for work, and he ends up working for a chap who's in a wheelchair, and I'm not going to say any more because if you watch it I don't want to spoil it, but it's a really lovely feel-good film and I really enjoyed it. And then of course, those of you, I don't know if people watch it across the pond, but certainly here in the UK, the thing that's been making a big stir is Happy Valley. And I've mentioned previously, I was aware that the last final series was out and I wanted to watch it, so I bought it. And I've been watching the episodes, and oh my goodness, the last episode was not at all what I expected. I believe, and I don't know if it's just rumour, but I believe they'd filmed 5 different endings, so nobody knew which one they were going to use, to stop the storyline getting leaked. But it was really good. I really enjoyed it. And yeah, it had me, white knuckle gripping the edge of my seat right to the very end. So yeah, that was really good. Books. I've got my reading mojo back. So I'd really been struggling. I've mentioned I can't even remember, like 3 or 4 months now, I just haven't been picking books up, and that is so out of character for me. I'm usually somebody that loves to read, and I can normally hurtle through, between 1 and 4 books a month, and I just hadn't been reading. And one of my friends came to see me, one of my nursing friends from the veterinary industry, and it was lovely to catch up. She came over it was actually a lovely day. It was cold and we had a yomp around the farm and sat down with cups of tea and had a good old catch up. And she's also a really good reader, and she likes the same kind of genre as me. We both really like a good crime thriller, and she brought me should I say, 10 in a series, and I think there's more to come. And I think I've mentioned it in the last Ponderings that I maybe just started reading it, can't remember, and it's the Dr. Ruth Galloway series by Ellie Griffiths, I think. Yeah, I'm sure it's Ellie Griffiths. Anyway, really good series, and I'm already halfway through book 3. I'm really enjoying them, so yeah, it's great to have my reading mojo back. I've also, I haven't sort of read it yet, I've just flicked through it, and it was one of you lovely people, and I'm so sorry I can't remember who it was, and I can't remember if it was here or on Instagram or Facebook, but somebody had recommended a beautiful book called The Wild Remedy by Emma Mitchell, and it's simply beautiful. So if it was you that recommended it, thank you so much. I've just popped it to one side for now, but it's something that alongside that almanac, just lovely books to be reading through the seasons. I've also been using my a newish journal that I think I mentioned in one of my previous videos, not a Ponderings, but I think it's called My Little Book of Happiness or My Happiness Journal or something like that. Terrible. I'll pop a little picture here. And I kept this, put it to one side specifically for while I'd been off poorly, I signed up for a 6-day mood boost. With meditation and mindfulness and reflection, and also there were little tasks to do each day. and part of that has got me back into journaling, and I really enjoyed it. It was really positive, really uplifting, really switched my mindset and really helped me through that last stretch before I went back to work. And I am back to work, and oh my goodness, it's so wonderful. But also, so it's a wonderful lady. She does have a YouTube channel. She does an awful lot on Facebook, and she has a lovely company called Inspire and Rewire, and she runs physical classes and retreats and so on, so yoga and meditation and sound healing and journaling and all the things that we need really to help us guide our way through this tricky old life. So I've dipped in and out of bits and pieces that Nick's done for a long time, but part of what she did on this 6-day mood boost was there was a little task or challenge each day, and for those of us that completed each task each day, she popped us in a little prize draw, and I won. So I've actually won. It's a little mini retreat, 3 hours, fairly locally. It's about a 40-minute drive from here, and it's 3 hours of yoga and meditation and sound healing, and I'm so looking forward to it. You know, I really am. And I probably will have been to that by the time you watch this, so I'll let you know in the next Ponderings how I got on, but I'm really looking forward to that. And then here in the garden, not a huge amount going on. There never is in February, is there? It's that kind of interim. I've got a few seeds. There's a little bit of germination on some of my sweet peas. Nothing on my onions yet. I keep toying with bringing them all. You can probably see them here behind me, and I keep toying with the idea of popping them into the house because it's just been a little bit too cold. But then when I saw a few little green tips popping through, I'm still contemplating. I might find a space in the house for them. But anyway, things are starting to come, but there's not a huge amount going on here. Over at the house, however, and up the drive, the snowdrops, oh my goodness, the snowdrops, they're so beautiful, and for me they're just so full of promise, and you know, it's that milestone, isn't it, that we've reached almost the end of winter and spring is on its way, and they're just so pretty. I recently bought an album on CD format, and I can highly recommend it. So I've been following on YouTube a lovely young couple called Ben and Emily, and they have a narrowboat and they share their narrowboat life. They've got a cat called Alan, and they're just lovely, and the way that they combine their filming with Ben's music is just delightful. I think Emily does a lot of the filming, and she's got such an eye, you know, for just catching those little bits of detail and nature, and you know, the sun twinkling on the water. And if you want some feel good YouTube, I can highly recommend them. And then Ben also is a musician, so check him out. It's Benny Jones, and I've just bought his album that's just come out. It's called Upon the Way That Weaves, and it's kind of folky. It's really hard to describe it. You have to hear it. It's so unique and so soothing and beautiful, and it's the most incredible mix of kind of relaxing and soothing, but it's also uplifting and restorative. It's just beautiful, and I found myself lighting some incense and putting on the CD and listening to it, and either just sitting quietly. I've also been doing some mindful colouring, which I really enjoy because you're totally immersed in it. But yeah, that album and also their channel I can highly recommend. We've been using the slow cooker that I showed you a while back. Absolute life changer. I know a lot of people jumped on and said how good they are, but I'm loving it. So I did have one many years ago and got rid of it for various reasons, but it's a really good one. I'm really enjoying it. We are concocting. It's just so great, isn't it? Chuck everything in the morning, and we've got, you know, 2 or 3 usually meals over the next coming days, and it's just there ready, regardless of how the day's gone, what the weather's been doing, where we've been, what we've been doing. There's a meal ready at night, and it's just great. Or I can chuck it on, you know, before I go to bed after a night shift, and there's food there for Chris when he comes home from work, and something for me to take in and have while I'm at work as well. So yeah, I'm loving that slow cooker. I've already touched briefly on me. I am feeling so much better. I'm back in work, absolutely loving being back in the clinic. We've had some, you know, I did, when I went back, I did a Friday, Saturday, Sunday night, and we had, I mean, we always have some lovely clients, but we had the nicest of owners. You know, there was some good and bad cases, you know, some are really positive outcomes and some not so, but we had just the most delightful owners, and it doesn't half make it an easier shift when you've got such genuinely lovely people who are so grateful for us being there. So yeah, it's really good to be back at work, and I'm really enjoying it. The team had done a great job while I wasn't there, keeping that clinic running, and also keeping it really neat and tidy, because they know I'm a bit of a stickler for having things as they should be. I mean, there's a reason for it. It's not just for me. It means that we can run a tidy, you know, if we've got a tidy clinic, we know where everything is. It means that we're much more efficient and we can run better shifts. But it was really nice to go in and everything was as it should be. So that was grand. And I'm still not 100%, but I'm being careful. But yeah, I'm feeling so much better. And then moving on to the animals. So the horses are absolutely grand. They're all together in one of their sort of winter pastures. They get a big bucket feed in the mornings, and they get haylage now, the wrapped haylage. On the milder days, they get that just in the evenings. But if it's really cold or there's a heavy frost, or while we've had snow, they were getting that either end of the day, and they're all looking great and they're all really happy. I did have the vet out recently to them just for their routine annual vaccination boosters and a little health check, and they're all absolutely fine. The sheep are down in their winter grazing now, checking on those 2 or 3 times a day. They don't really need feeding, but occasionally I'll just give them a little scoop of nuts just so I can get them to stand at the trough and I can have a really good look at them, or if they're, it's lazy really, if I'm in a hurry and they're all the way down the bottom because it's on quite a steep slope. If I've got time, I'll always walk around the field, and it's really important actually to stock, walk round and check your stock fencing on a regular basis, which we do. But obviously, you know, busy some days. So if I can rattle their sheep nuts, they all come running up, and it just saves me having to go and round them up. So they're doing grand. The chickens are coping really well with the flock down. They're looking great. They went through quite a big molt. They've all feathered back up again, and they've started laying again, so that's fantastic. So we're only getting sort of 1 egg, 2 eggs every couple of days, but they're coming back into lay, which is grand. Victor is doing fine. He's just Victor, so he's still just pootling about doing his thing. And then I've saved this till last, so I normally start with the animals, and there's a reason that I've saved this till last. So I'm going to try my best to tell you this story. I'm not going to ramble on, and I don't want to make this too depressing, but those of you that follow me, I think you're probably going to guess what's coming. So little Kay, our beautiful brindle greyhound, who came to us, I thought I could do this without crying. So sorry. She came to us just over 6 years ago. We fostered her because nobody else could take her. She only had a 3 to 6 month life expectancy because she had a congenital heart defect. She basically was in congestive heart failure because she had massive heart problems. And she defied all the odds. Obviously medication helped, and we took her regularly to see the cardiologist, so the heart specialist, and with an amazing team. So, and I'm going to put us into that team, Chris and I and Kaylee, our other hound, and our first opinion vets and our specialist vets at the big hospital. Between us, because we've given her everything she ever needed, she defied the odds, and she fought for 6 years. And we couldn't have her spayed or neutered because she would never have survived the anaesthetic. And at the time that we discussed it, when she was just a year old, when we first took her, so we fostered her initially and then we adopted her, so she became ours. So one of the first questions I asked the cardiologists was, I really want to get her spayed. So one of the things that entire unneutered bitches are susceptible to, if they've never had puppies and they've not been spayed, I see it so much. It comes in as an emergency. They get this, it's called a pyometra, and essentially it's an infection in the uterus, and it's life-threatening. And if we don't act immediately with surgery, you know, there is no other cure. We have to remove that infected uterus. So essentially we spay them, but it's really risky surgery because they're pretty sick. It's a lot of infection, a lot of pus, and you know, if it bursts, then you know we've got all sorts of problems to worry about. And obviously I would never want any of my animals to go through anything like that. But when I asked, they said she'd never live long enough to risk getting a pyo or a pyometra. So we just lived with her as she was, and she came into season twice a year. And of course she just kept going and eventually her heart was getting weaker and weaker, and I think I'd mentioned last time that she wasn't so great, and she developed a pyo, and the only way to treat it was with antibiotics. But of course they couldn't keep it away forever, and she couldn't have surgery because she would have died. And we toyed with the idea of trying, but I didn't want, after all the wonderful years she'd given us and the fact that she'd fought such a battle with her heart, I didn't want her to die on an operating table. I wanted her to have some grace and some dignity and some love. So we arranged Kay's big adventure, and we got up nice and early. We had everything in place, and they love travelling in the car, so we piled into the car and we drove them to a beach. So both of our lovely special K girls, and they had ice cream on the beach, and then we drove through the mountains to Betus, which is a beautiful, beautiful place, and had a little bit of time in Betus with the mountains up on one side in the woodland with the beautiful river running along. And then we piled back into the car and drove along through the mountains and on through some moorland and to a beautiful place that we like going to on a lovely estate. They actually have bison, and they had burgers and chips. And then we did a complete loop returning to the vets. And Kaylee was with her, and we popped a little catheter in, and we said goodbye to her. And it was really hard, but also she'd fought so hard for so long, and I didn't want her to suffer, and she was starting to show signs of being in distress. She was losing weight, she was getting a bit grumpy and she was tired. And then we all piled back into the car. We popped her on the back seat and Kaylee in the back, and we drove to our most beautiful local pet crematorium. I've known them for years, and they're a wonderful family, and we left her in a big basket in their little chapel of rest overnight, and then she's been cremated so that we have her ashes here with us. So I deliberately kept this bit till the end because I knew I would struggle, and I'm sad but I'm happy, and I didn't want to do this on camera, but you guys know me, and you know I like to share, I like to be real. So I'm really sorry if this is a bit sad, but don't be, because she had a wonderful life, and she had 6 years that nobody expected her to have, and that's what we want to do, is celebrate Kay's wonderful life. Kaylee is actually coping remarkably well, and I think a lot of that is because we allowed her to be there to see what was happening, and she also accompanied us to the crematorium, and she came in and and watched us lay Kay to rest in the big basket, and she had a little sniff and a little lick, and then she was ready. She actually was the one that instigated it was time to go. And I do find that with pets, although I say this professionally all the time to people at work, you know, it is important for them to see and understand. It's so much harder when it's your own. But because of that, you know, she hasn't gone looking for her, and I have known that. I think she's quite enjoying having the sofa to herself. So yeah, she's missing her buddy. She's missing her buddy. There's no doubt about that. But I'm spending loads of time with her, and she's a big comfort to us as well. So let's celebrate Kay's wonderful life and be like Kay, because she was the most remarkable, upbeat, happy little soul. Nothing got her down, even everything she went through. She was always bouncing and dashing about with a waggy tail, full of happiness and delight. So thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate all your comments, and do pop some comments below. Do let me know what you've been up to, what you're reading, what you're watching, how your gardens are getting on. If you've been out and about, what have you been doing? But for now, take good care, and I'll see you all again really soon.